Welcome to the Life After Sugar podcast, the podcast that's not just about sugar, but about your relationship with it and also with food and especially with yourself. So if you want to discover your life after sugar and hear inspiring stories from all kinds of people who also cut out sugar in their way, at their pace, for their own reasons, this is the podcast for you. Because when you take away the sugar, you can finally discover the real sweetness in your life. I'm your host, Netta Gorman. And my guest this week is Dr. Jonar, who, as a young physician, found himself 40 pounds overweight, pre-diabetic, exhausted, and relying on processed sugar for comfort. And in this episode, he shares how changing his lifestyle, not just his medical knowledge, helped him reverse his prediabetes, and also why he believes that processed sugar is at the heart of today's chronic disease epidemic. We'll get to our chat in just a minute. But first, I just wanted to tell you that if you're looking for some free resources, then I have plenty for you. First, download my 5 tips to get rid of cravings. And those 5 tips may not be what you think they are. So go to sugarcravingsfree.com and download your 5 tips today. And while you're at sugarcravingsfree.com, why not take the Cravings Quiz? I created this Cravings Quiz specifically to help you start thinking more deeply about what triggers your cravings. And when you do this quiz, you'll get your personalized score as well as my practical tips to help you take your first step to get rid of cravings. Those free resources are at sugarcravingsfree.com. And to go even deeper, buy my new book, Break Free from Sugar Cravings, in either paperback, ebook, or audiobook format, available now on Amazon in most countries. Type in the search bar, Break Free from Sugar Cravings, or just my name, Netta Gorman. And on social media, come check out the Life After Sugar Facebook page and subscribe to the Life After Sugar YouTube channel, as well as my Instagram account at My Life After Sugar, which is where you'll get all kinds of inspiration so that you can see that it's perfectly possible to live a happy and active life, even if you don't eat sugar. Okay, so let's get to my chat with Dr. Jonar. So I'm here today with Dr. Jonar. And Jonar, can you tell us a little bit about where you grew up and what you used to eat when you were a child?
Yeah, first of all, no, thank you so much for having me on your show. I love your show. I love the message behind it. So I
Thank you.
appreciate you having me. I grew up in Chicago, so in the Midwest, and I grew up eating the standard American diet. A lot of burgers, fries, pizza, you name it, like all of the fast foods I grew up on. And then on top of it, I'm Filipino, so we ate a lot of Filipino food as well growing up.
Ah,
And
like what?
that
Can you just tell us what that looks like?
Yeah, so it's a lot of meat heavy dishes, a lot of carb based dishes, processed carbs specifically. So like pancit is a type of noodle. That's like a very popular one. There's stuff like lumpia, which is like Filipino egg roll. You can think of
Okay,
it that way. So I grew up on all those things. Yeah.
nice. Yeah. So you had a bit of both, a bit of American and a bit of Filipino.
Yes. Yeah. I wouldn't even say a bit. I would say a lot.
Okay. And so what would you say as like the common denominator in those two types of cuisines, let's say? Is it the processed carbs?
I would say so. If we're gonna be talking about that, yes, I would say that's the commonality. There's other common factors too, like very high in fat, and like what I like to refer as SOS, like a lot of salt, a lot of oil, a lot of sugar added, right? So
Hmm.
those would probably be the two commonalities between those two types of foods.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So you grew up in the States, and then did that type of food affect you at all?
Most definitely. Yes, it did. Growing up, I ate a lot. Like my parents were very keen on me eating, but like they didn't realize how much I ate. So my parents would always be like, "Okay, don't eat so much. Don't eat." And I would just devour stuff. Part of it was my metabolism, I guess, but like as I got older, like from childhood to teen years, I still took on those same eating habits.
Hmm.
And that carried me throughout a lot of my adult life, earlier adult life. And so, yeah, the effects were pretty profound. Like I found myself during medical training, 40 plus pounds overweight.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, because of the fact that like there are these just ingrained old patterns, habits of kind of using food as comfort as well.
Did you feel like you needed comfort for life in general, or specifically because you were at med school?
No, I think I would tend to use food as comfort. Like this was even before med school and even after, right? And
Uh-huh.
on top of it, like I said, I ate a lot growing up, so I was an overeater.
Okay.
I would just devour stuff. And I feel like that is like one of the big reasons why I'm doing what I do now, which is, I health coach people, specifically in the area of diabetes, but like I focus on like pretty much all chronic diseases
Hmm.
because a lot of what we eat and what we consume, it leads to health problems down the road.
Hmm. And did you have that in your family, a history of diabetes?
Yes, on my mom's side.
Hmm.
hmm So, but like no one in my like my sisters, like none of them, I have three older sisters. I was the only one,
Who?
and I
The
think
only one who did what? Who ate like
who
that?
had insulin resistance. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
was diagnosed with prediabetes. Um, and so it's just interesting because comparatively to them, you would expect them to maybe see elements of that because they're older than I am. So you might wonder like why me, right?
Yeah.
But I think part of it was my eating habits and how much like that affected my health over the years.
Hmm. Because they didn't eat like you, your sisters?
Not nearly as much as me.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Not nearly as much as me. Yeah. Yeah.
Would you say that in your medical knowledge about diabetes and insulin resistance, would you say that you have like a genetic predisposition for diabetes?
Yes, I would say so. And I think it doesn't just apply to me specifically, but the way that Asians metabolize in the body, we are more susceptible to putting on a specific type of fat. It's called visceral fat.
Hmm.
So generally speaking, you have two types of fat. You have subcutaneous fat, which is what most people think of when they talk about fat. It's
Yes.
like the fat you can see on the outside of the body, right? The fat I'm talking about, visceral fat, is the fat that wraps around organs. And that is between the two, that's actually the more toxic type to the body that can quickly lead to issues like diabetes, but also high cholesterol, high blood pressure, you name it, the gamut of chronic diseases. And so I think for us Asians, we are more susceptible to that. If you look at numbers here in the United States, right, there's about 40 million Americans who have diabetes.
Yeah.
And so amongst the US population, Asians actually make a small percentage comparatively
Hmm.
overall. But when you're looking at diabetes, we make up a big chunk of that. So
Huh.
that must mean we have a higher propensity to develop it based off of our, whether you want to call it genetic profile or the way that we metabolize. But yeah, we're more prone to it.
Okay. All right. And so when did you find out that you had insulin resistance or even find out what that even means. And are you diabetic or pre-diabetic?
Pre-diabetic. So
Yeah.
I was pre-diabetic.
Okay.
So this happened like, 10 years ago when like I mentioned, I was in the middle of medical training and found myself 40 plus pounds overweight, pre-diabetic, exhausted. Medical training is so rigorous.
Yeah.
You're in the hospital the majority of the time and you barely sleep. And so I was a walking zombie. I used food to comfort myself, right? And even alcohol as well. And and so yeah, I realized, how can I be taking care of patients and giving them health advice when I wasn't even taking care of myself?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
Just a big wake up call.
a big wake up call for you. And we would imagine us non-medical people would imagine that if you're in med school, then you know all about human biology and you know all about healthy lifestyle habits, and you're like the shining example.
Yeah,
Yeah, which is
you would think.
often, yeah, yeah, it's often the complete opposite of most people
Yes.
I've talked to, at least, who were in med school.
You're 100% right. We in medical school are trained to, and this is Western medicine,
Yes.
okay? We are trained to learn about the body, like the pathophysiology, like how disease happens and how the body works, and what we can do to treat disease. And there's two types of disease, acute disease and chronic disease, right? Generally speaking. And so, our toolkit is using medications, using pills, using procedures to help correct course for any one particular disease. Okay. There's not much in the way of nutrition.
Hmm.
There's not much in the way of exercise, stress management, sleep. I think nowadays it's becoming more mainstream, I would say, to
Hmm.
incorporate these sorts of things in medical school curriculum. But a lot of what I learned to help reverse course for myself, I learned outside of my medical training.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I'm wearing this shirt right now. If you can see, it says
Lifestyle.
lifestyle
Yeah.
medicine. So that's
American College of Lifestyle
lifestyle
Medicine.
medicine, yes. And so, apart from being internal medicine trained, I'm also trained in lifestyle medicine, which is the evidence-based approach to treat, reverse, and prevent chronic diseases through the six pillars that they focus on.
Yeah.
And some of them I just mentioned, right? Nutrition, exercise, stress management, sleep, avoiding risky behaviors, and strong social connections, because those all have an effect on your overall health.
Mm.
And so, when I started doing research on my own health, this is what helped me reverse course for my insulin resistance. I was able to drop the 40 plus pounds. I was able to get my hemoglobin A1C, which is the marker for diabetes, back to normal levels. And I'm proud to say, like, that was 10 years ago. Look at me now. Like, I am the healthiest physically, mentally, emotionally that I've been in my life.
Wow. Wow. And I don't want to, sound like I'm bitching med school, which I'm not, because I would never be able to get in myself, that's for sure. But it's like you did that despite the fact that you were taught all other kinds of things about diabetes. Were you taught that it was something that cannot be reversed, that it was progressive?
I don't think that was even talked about, honestly. I don't think that was talked about. It was just, we were taught how diabetes happens and what medicines people can take. And I'm not going to say that we are not taught lifestyle intervention in medical school. We are, but it is not the point of focus.
Yes.
We had probably like, I don't know, one class in a semester of nutrition, and that's it. When these chronic diseases are lifestyle related. So why are we not focusing more on this in medical school? Why are we not even focusing on this in public education?
Hmm.
It's absurd to me
Yeah.
because a lot of this, yes, there's a genetic component, especially when we're talking about Asians, but a lot of this is self-inflicted. And I am not putting blame on any one individual. It's a system problem. If you're
Totally.
going to point to anything, no one's at fault. The doctors aren't at fault, the patient, none of us, right? It's the system that we're in. The system creates this just burden of chronic disease. And this is outside the medical system. Now we're talking about food systems,
Yes.
our modern nutrition. Like things are so convenient. You can go to any store. I can drive like less than 5 minutes away, pick up some quote unquote food from a fast food place. Is that really food?
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
So we have to ask ourselves, like, what are we doing here?
And when you say here, are you talking specifically about the United States?
Unfortunately, no. I'm actually talking
Mhm.
about everywhere now because, American culture has kind of infused into other parts of the world. And so a lot of other places are experiencing these epidemics of obesity, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes. And so, yeah, this isn't specific to the United States. This is a world problem.
Hmm. Yeah, it seems that way from at least the people that I talk to from all over the world. So, how do you live as a doctor in this type of context without becoming just discouraged? I want to take a quick break to say that if this is your first time here, then welcome and thank you for listening to this podcast. And whether you're new or a regular and you haven't yet rated or reviewed this podcast, could I ask you to scroll down and tap on the stars to rate this podcast and also to write a short review to let me know how this podcast is helping you in your life after sugar. I love reading your reviews. And when you rate and review this podcast, not only does it encourage me to continue making new episodes, but it also helps to share this podcast and have more people see it so that we can help more people feel better and lose weight with less sugar. So again, thank you for rating and reviewing this podcast and for spreading the word about sugar.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing now. So, you bring up a good point. I worked in that system for a number of years, right? I actually specifically worked in the hospital caring for very sick hospitalized patients. They're called hospitalists, right?
Mhm.
And so there were so many patients I would see coming in and out of the hospital with, for example, advanced diabetes, complications from it, to just get them, a little bit better so that they can be stable and be sent home, to only see them again a couple weeks later.
Yeah.
And you see them coming in and out, in and out. And yeah, it, I realize that if I want to enact change, it's got to be upstream because all I was doing was just prolonging their suffering. What I wanted to do was help prevent them from even getting into the hospital. So I moved out of the hospital
Uh-huh.
to help prevent people from going into it. And so what I do now is I focus specifically on health coaching.
Okay. All right. That's a completely different focus, a completely different approach.
Yeah, it is and it isn't. I think it is in the sense that, we talked about it a little bit earlier with the focus on the Western medical approach of, pill for an ill, right?
Mm.
We're replacing and supplanting medication with real medicine, which is food, which is movement, which is managing stress, which is sleep. Those can be your medicine. And so that's what I focus on with folks. I work on helping them establish healthier habits and breaking free of old patterns and old habits so that they can achieve long-lasting health.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I do too.
Great, yeah.
And so I guess that do you feel that the approach that you take now in lifestyle medicine is more effective than when you were more like in the Western medicine approach?
I think it depends on how you're defining effectiveness.
Yeah.
Okay. I- I'm not gonna, poo-poo on the medical system. I think that like I said, I was a part of it. Doctors were not trained in this. So they're not gonna, look or even spend time talking about nutrition when one, they haven't been trained in it. Two, they don't have time. We're given like 10, 15 minutes to
Yeah.
see a patient. That's You can only break the surface with that little time. And so like I think with Western medical approaches, when it comes to medication, I'm not against them. In fact, they are necessary in certain situations. For example, like acute situations. Let's say you have an infection, or let's say you broke your leg and you need surgery. Like these are interventions that are necessary.
Yes.
My problem is that it's pill first. Everyone, it's not even just doctors, patients. Everyone wants a magic pill. Like, let's look at what has led us to these health problems from the get-go. And so I
Absolutely.
think when we're talking about like effectiveness, I think in this sense, yes, my approach is much more effective because we're getting to the root cause of what is leading to the disease to begin with.
Yeah, yeah. And so my experience has been that for myself, as well as people I help, when there's any mention of changing diet, and especially cutting sugar or at least reducing it,
Yeah.
we
Yep.
push back. We push back like we've never pushed back before. Do you
Right.
have that experience as well with people?
So with the clients I work with, like I do a pretty good job of ensuring that the people I work with are fully committed to changing around their health. This is like a must for them. They can't fail at this. And so they are fully open to trying new things because the thing is, you can't expect a different result if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, right? So
Yep.
they are open to it. Now, for the people out there that aren't like in my coaching program, yes, for sure. They want to get healthier, but once you start talking about stuff that like is tied to their emotions, and I'm talking about food right now, you know, or it's tied to their culture, that's a really hard conversation to have.
Yeah.
And unless there's enough, pain and suffering that they've gone through, then they might be open to changing.
Yeah. So you work with people that are ready for that change. How do you screen them to know if they're ready?
Yeah, so I just have a conversation with them.
Mm,
If they're interested in my program, I sit down with them and I talk to them.
okay.
And that I will know just by asking them a couple of questions where they stand.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what do you ask them to do or encourage them to do in terms of sugar consumption, seeing as this podcast kind of focuses on sugar?
Yeah, I mean that is very pivotal to my coaching program and protocol because like I'm all about reversing insulin resistance, whether that's pre-diabetes or diabetes. So a lot of this is around sugar, but really the problem isn't sugar per se. And it's a very kind of complex answer and also like way of thinking about it. But sugar is actually not the problem here. The
Mm,
problem a lot of times is processed sugar
yes.
and fats. Those two things alone, those are the drivers for insulin resistance. And so when it comes to, we're talking about sugar here, processed sugar, it is crazy how it affects the body and the brain. And so I talk to them about this. I let them know that like these things that we eat, these processed sugars, how harmful they are to the body. So, what is interesting is that like here in the United States, the sugar addiction is still not yet a diagnosable thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
It
true.
is a very real thing. It can derail your health. It creates a lot of inflammation in the body. It can disrupt your sleep, leads to sugar crashes. It can lead to gain weight, joint pain. And the thing is, what's interesting about it is the same areas of the brain that light up when, for example, someone is addicted to cocaine, processed sugar lights up that same part of the brain.
Yeah.
And, you know, in a way, you see like celebs going on like these rehab centers. So part of my program, like if the client is up for it, we do a processed sugar detox.
Mm.
And so what that allows them to do is kind of break free of that addiction,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I
Um,
think there's no other way, really.
no, there's not. And you know, it's like any addictive behavior or substance. Like abstinence is the only way away from it. You can't keep coming back here and there because it's just going to hook you back in.
Yeah.
So the best way to do it is just to cut it off completely. And what you find is that like it's not even just bad for the body and the brain, but like our gut. And what's interesting about this is the microbiome, which is like this fascinating, like relatively newer field of study.
I don't know how new it is because, Hippocrates talked about it over 2000 years ago.
Well, new in the sense that there is more data to support
Yes,
these claims, right?
totally.
Like when I was in medical school, you know, this wasn't talked about that much, but over the past 10 years, there's been an explosion of a lot of studies that kind of support this microbiome theory, which is, you know, it's real, right?
Yeah.
We have all these microbes, billions and billions of them in the gut. And for they're either good or they're bad bugs that can help or hinder our health. And so with processed sugar, for example, the bad gut bacteria feed on processed sugar and they're specifically called gram-negative bacteria. We all have them, right? So you have
Yes.
like good and bad gut bacteria, but like depending on what you eat, you feed these bugs and they will grow depending on what you feed it. So if you're feeding it the bad stuff, the bad bugs will grow, right? And so these bad bugs, the gram-negative bacteria, they produce something like a byproduct called lipopolysaccharide. And that is a highly inflammatory chemical for the gut. And that chemical can get absorbed into the blood and cause inflammation. And so there's no wonder why, like, when you eat these foods, afterwards, you might feel bloated. You might feel like inflamed. You might feel a crash. It's because of this
Mm.
also.
Yeah, yeah. And it's true that, now we're beginning to talk a lot more about gut health and the
Yep.
microbiome. But th I think it feels like for us regular consumers, it's still not talked about enough, or we don't really understand it enough, the
Yep.
importance of it.
Yeah.
And so
No,
we
that's
sort of,
true.
yeah, and we go out into the store and buy bottles of store-bought kombucha thinking, I'm good now.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's just it I think because like I said, like this is a relatively new field in the sense that we have more like emerging data to support these claims that it's becoming more mainstream. But
Mm.
yeah, there's still a lot of ways to go when it comes to kind of interjecting these thoughts into people's food decisions, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a good thing that people like yourself are out there. You have what I don't have, which is the medical background, but also this other approach that is complementary, I think, to the medical approach, which is the lifestyle medical approach.
Yeah, you know, the thing is, you don't have to choose one or the other. I think we live in this like society where you have to pick one side or another. It's got to be extreme. You got to do keto diet. You got to, you know, the thing is they can coexist. Like you don't have to pick the wellness, you know, natural route. Like medicines can also help you in specific situations.
Yeah.
So I don't want anyone out there listening thinking that like they should not trust the medical system and move away from it. Like whatever is going to help you, try it out, give it a shot.
Yeah,
Because if it's going to get you to better health, why not? Whether
absolutely.
that's medications, whether that's eating healthier, like you should be open to all of it because it can all support, us in our especially in our time of need.
Yeah, totally, totally. What's your opinion about the GLP-1 drugs?
So, similar to what I said earlier, I am not against them. I actually think they're amazing tools. And actually, if you look at the history of GLP-1s, they were first created for diabetes.
Yeah,
And what's interesting about this, we're talking about the gut here, just earlier about the microbiome. We actually produce in the body natural GLP-1.
huh.
And that's actually the whole reason why GLP-1s got created in the first place because they discovered this. So it's mainly made in the gut. I think these cells called L cells, and they line parts of our small intestines and large intestines, and they get stimulated. And when they get stimulated, they produce natural GLP-1. And so what that does is that helps with insulin sensitivity, that helps with satiety, meaning like it signals you to be full, it slows digestion down, and then it also signals to the brain, hey, I'm full. So it works just like the medications that are popularized nowadays, but it's natural in the body. And
Yeah,
so your body produces it. So I'm not against the medications, but what I am against is that we rely so heavily on medications when we got to look, have a more bird's eye view of thing and look at what we're doing that has led us to, for example, diabetes or even obesity, because this is the most common use of the GLP-1 medications,
exactly.
right?
Yeah, totally, totally makes sense. Yeah. And if people want to get in touch with you, Jonah, how can they do that?
Yeah, so I am pretty active on social media. My handle is reverse diabetes doc. So you can find me on Instagram, on Facebook, and recently I just joined TikTok,
Mm,
and doing pretty well there too. Like
all
I guess
right.
people are very interested in like learning about alternative ways of, correcting course when it comes to diabetes.
Fantastic.
The other way that people can reach me is I do have a podcast as well. It's called Glass Half Healthy. I'm on Spotify and Apple Podcast, so you can find me there as well under Dr. Jonar.
Fantastic. Maybe I can be on your podcast too.
Yeah, why not? For sure, I'd love to have you.
Smashing. Would love to. Well, thank you, Jana. That this conversation is really inspiring and so lovely to speak to you as a doctor, but just, also as a diabetes or ex-diabetes patient as well. Thank you so much for talking with me.
Oh, I appreciate you having me on the show. And again, I love what you're doing. Keep doing it. You're reaching so many people to help improve their own health as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much. A great conversation with Dr. Jonah, and his story is a reminder that lasting health isn't just about treating disease, it's about addressing the habits that created it in the first place. And just because Dr. Jonah is a doctor, that doesn't mean that he knew everything there is to know about prediabetes, but the more information you have, the more empowered you are to make these lifestyle changes and to take control of your own health. It's just that sometimes information is not enough, and you may need a helping hand to implement the information you know. And this is exactly why I created the Freedom from Cravings Formula program. Because I created this program specifically for women over 50 to help you go deeper into your relationship with food, especially sugar, and also into your relationship with yourself. And so that you can get guidance and support to help you stop emotional eating, break free from sugar cravings, slim down, and feel more in control around food. In the program, you'll get step-by-step guidance and customized support through the 5-step formula that I've developed to help you ditch the shame and embarrassment that you feel every time your emotions make you slip or fall off the wagon. so that you can live your life with more energy and fit into your favorite clothes effortlessly, feel confident in your food choices, and so that you never have to feel like you're on some kind of restrictive diet. By the time you're 50 and over, you've spent decades looking after everybody else. And now it's your turn to take care of yourself. So let's chat about your specific needs and why you want to break free from cravings. Go to sugarcravingsfree.com to learn more about the Freedom from Cravings Formula program and to book a free video call with me to see if the program is a good fit for you. Go to sugarcravingsfree.com. That's it for this week. Keep in touch and see you soon for another episode.